What if a piece of land could remember every word ever spoken in anger and speak them back to you in your own voice? Tonight we go to the Bell Witch Farm in Adams, Tennessee, where the ground talks, the house listens, and something that once called itself Kate was never buried. It's after midnight. The air is thick with late summer humidity that clings like wet fabric against the skin. Tobacco rows fall away in dark parallel bands, their leaves heavy, dripping with dew that catches the weak security light behind the barn in tiny, trembling mirrors. Beyond that glow blackness, nothing but the slow exhale of pasture grass and the faint metallic smell of wet earth after heat. The farmhouse sits low to the ground, its white paint dulled to bone under moonlight. The screen porch breathes and settles in the warm air, every nail grown a slow memory. The original Bell cabin is long gone, but here, on land that once held its foundation stones, people still build, still sleep, still hear things that do not belong to this century. Inside, the floorboards run in narrow, uneven lengths reclaimed from older structures. Walk across them and you'll feel where old knots dip. Cold drafts thread upward through nail holes that shouldn't be there in a modern build. Stand still long enough and air slips across your ankles like a cat brushing by except nothing's there. A half-mile downslope is the limestone opening locals call the Bell Witch Cave, the little stream that carved its smells of iron and wet leaves. Step inside and sound changes, voices flatten, consonants slide, and the drip of groundwater stacks like layered metronomes. Guides bring tourists here in daylight. At night, when the water runs high, you hear what they heard 200 years ago, tapping, whispering, and the dry, deliberate sound of someone tasting your name. Most farms lose stories to weather and weeds. This one seems to grow them. Back in 1817, Farmer John Bell settled his family here in what was then Robeson County. At first, the disturbances were small. Faint knocks on the cabin walls, as if acorns dropped in patterns no tree could manage. Scratching followed, then tugging at bed covers. The youngest daughter, Betsy, complained that an invisible hand slapped and pinched her. Family members heard lips close to their ears at night, breath cold, words indistinct. Neighbors came, they heard it too. The thing developed a voice clear, intelligent, and cruelly playful. It sang hymns, quoted sermons it shouldn't have known, and repeated private conversations spoken miles away. When asked its name, it eventually answered to Kate, a name tied in some tellings to a neighbor woman. Kate bats, though whether in jest, accusation, or mimicry, no one agrees. What is recorded again and again is that the voice had opinions, sharp ones about John Bell. John fell ill, his tongue swelled, swallowing failed. A strange vial of dark liquid was found. The voice allegedly bragged it had given him the dose that would fix him. In December 1820, John Bell died. At his funeral, the unseen voice reportedly laughed and sang drinking songs until mourners dispersed. Newspapers later amplified the tale. Preachers used it, skeptics debunked it, believers pilgrimaged, and the legend rooted so deeply that even General Andrew Jackson is said to have visited and declared he would rather fight the British again than spend another night with whatever tormented the Bells. And folklore, when believed long enough, becomes terrain. I came here with two audiotechs and a historian from Nashville who has built a career separating 19th century record from 20th century hype. We weren't here to prove ghosts. We were here to document how story alters perception, how expectation shapes sound. That's what we told ourselves. We rented the farmhouse that sits closest to the old Bell property line. The owners were kind, practical, and very clear about one rule: don't take anything from the cave. Not a rock, not a leaf. If you move something for a shot, put it back. People laugh at that rule until they bring home a souvenir and start hearing knocks. Night 1, we set boundary mix along the porch and a low-frequency geophone near the crawl space. Inside, we planted a contact mix on the reclaimed floorboards and aimed a directional mic down the hallway that lines up roughly with where the Bell cabin doorway once stood, according to survey overlays. We recorded room tone for calibration. Everything normal. cicadas, a barred owl, distant freight on the CSX line. At 2:13 a.m., the porch channel logged a sequence. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, pause, 3 knocks. Morse for the letter K random. Maybe, except the crawl space channel caught the same rhythm 12 seconds earlier reversed. Wood expanding, thermal shift, sure, we tagged it. At 3:04, in the hallway feed, a whisper rode the noise floor. Too faint to parse in real time, we didn't hear it until playback the next afternoon. Slowed and cleaned, the waveform showed syllabic separation for beats. My name, or close to it, but stretched, like someone learning the shape of it with their teeth. No one on the team said anything. The historian stared at the screen, jaw tight, as if waiting for someone else to call it pareidolia so he wouldn't have to. Night till we pushed into the cave. Water was low, footing slick. We mounted a parabolic mic at the bend where the ceiling drops and sound rebounds. The cave breathes differently after sunset. Every few minutes a pulse of cooler air slides past your ankles. On the third pulse, our recorder glitched timestamp freeze, then jump yet the audio never broke. During the gap, a woman's voice, close and unamplified, whispered, "Don't, just that, clean, direct, no echo." We assumed bleed from one of our team radios until we confirmed every comm was powered down. We were recording wild. Back at the farmhouse, things sharpened. The geophone picked up intermittent vibration under the kitchen at 19-second intervals like distant footfalls paced by a patient walker. We went under with lights, clay, pipes, old root veins. No animals. The vibration stopped while we were below and resumed 5 minutes after we came up. Date but not proof. Around 4 a.m. a storm front rolled east and the pressure dropped hard. The house tightened, nails popped, humidity thickened the air until every inhale tasted of metal. That's when we caught the only unambiguous interaction. I was at the hallway mic checking levels. On a whim fatigued of as that I said aloud, "If the stories are yours, say something only the bells would know." Silence. Then the floor cooled under my bare feet as if air-conditioned from below. In the headphones, breathing not since to mind slow, sibilant. Then a low female murmur, "He knows." Another breath. Sharper, nearer. "He owes." I froze. The waveform spiked, but stayed within human vocal range. My tech, in the adjoining room, heard none of it live, but his channel picked up a faint harmonic that matched the frequency of my hallway mic, as though the sound bled through wires, not air. Sleep deprivation strips reason. By dawn, we'd logged hours of ambiguous knocks, variable temperature drops, and voice fragments that might be radio contamination. Still, when I closed my eyes, I tasted cedar smoke and old medicine, the bitter-sweet odor described in 19th century notes about the vial found near John Bell's bed. Had I read that line recently? Yes. Did I invent the smell? Maybe, but it clung through the drive back to Nashville, hitching a ride in memory if not in matter. 2 days later, we reviewed the data. We ran spectral analysis on the cave whisper that said, "Don't." The formant pattern suggested an adult female voice, but its slower resonant trough was a typical closer to room tone than to a human throat. The hallway phrase, "He knows, he owes," carried micro-reverberations that didn't match the room's measured decay time. It sounded recorded in a larger space, then folded in 2 hours. Layer bleed, file corruption, intentional mimicry by, what? Here's the part I can't explain. The last file we opened 48 hours after leaving the farm was a redundant ambient track from the porch. We almost deleted it unheard. At 5:12 a.m., just before sunrise on our final night, a voice, again female, again close, recited a fragment of a Methodist hymn first published in 1816. We verified the lyric. But that's not what keeps me up. After the hymn, there's a soft laugh. And my own voice replying, "Kate." Only I never said that word on site. Not once. We checked every raw take, every slate, every room tone, nothing. So either stray audio stitched me into a call I never made, or something there learned my timbre well enough to answer itself using me. If a haunting is memory with intent, whose memory is the bell which farm are playing now, and when it speaks in your voice, what, exactly, is it trying to confess?